G'day guys. Whoops. My name is Xoe and welcome to Xoe Tutorials, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make an earth in Blender 2.73. So this is what the result will look like. Actually, I've got it on my background right now. That is what it's going to look like in the end. Now we aim to do this in cycles render, so if you don't have that on your Blender, well, that's probably because you're not in the same update as Blender as I, which is 2.73. So I recommend you highly recommend that you get that. There'll be links to it in the description below. Same as other programs that we're going to be using in this tutorial, such as GIMP and Crazy Bump. That's the one. So this is what our Earth is going to look like. We aim for realisticness, but we also want a sort of fakeness to it, a nicer looking way of Earth, because if you actually have a look at a real photo of Earth, it's actually not as beautiful. But yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead, open up a new file. So as you can see here, I have nothing on the scene right now, so that is what I want you to do. And if you do have things on your scene, if you press A, so if, for example, I'm just going to put a cube, if you press A, you'll select everything, and then if you press X or delete on your keyboard, you'll pop up this menu, and then press OK to delete, or just click on delete. And that's what you want to do. So you want nothing on the scene to start off with. Okay, so if you have nothing on your scene, because this is just usually helpful, so because you're normally going to be deleting everything from the scene at the very start, so if you want it so that every time you open up Blender there won't be anything on scene, all you do is once you have a clear scene, press Control U and you can go save up start file. So every time I start up Blender, it will then, have nothing in the scene. Okay, so we're going to go straight off at the bat and press Shift A and add a UV sphere. That is what we want. Now don't move anything, don't really touch anything, and go over to this left panel here, down here where it says add UV sphere. You want the segments, make that 64, and you got rings, make that 32. That way we get a higher polygon version of this UV sphere, and it will just make for a better image. So if we press 5, okay, so one thing that you want to do is you want to have use your number pad, not the numbers on the top of the keyboard, because those won't work. If I press them, I can hide stuff, whatever. Undo. You can just press Control Z to undo. But you can't use those ones, but you want to use your number pad, so make sure you have number lock on, or num lock on, so that you can use that. So if you press 5, you can switch between perspective, I think it is. I can't quite remember. Persp or orthographic view. So you want to be in orthographic view, and you can see that up there, user ortho. If it's on persp, press 5 on the number pad and it will change you into ortho. So now you want to press 1 on the keyboard, on the number pad, so that you come to this view, which is the side view of the object. So now we're going to press tab, and it'll show us all the vertices and everything, and this allows us to edit them, and it's even called an edit mode. So what I was originally in was in object mode, but now I'm going to go into edit mode. So I press 1, and you can just zoom in using your scroll wheel, and you want to go to the very top vertice here. The vertice is the tiny little dot, and you just want to select that. By the way, just want to press this button, which is the limit selection to visible, and make that not limited. And yeah, that's just going to be helpful for future references. So now that we've got the top vertice, we're also going to go all the way down, select this bottom vertice, and press X on our keyboard and delete vertices. So this creates a hole at the top. But why do we need a hole? Well, it's because we're in cycles render, or we're going to be. We're in cycles render now, and we want to UV unwrap the sphere so that we can draw a texture on it. Well, we're not actually going to be drawing the texture. We're going to grab some from the internet. Most of the ones that I got are from the NASA website. There'll be links to in the description to download them. So yeah, anyways, and with this, the reason that we made the hole is because if you try to UV unwrap and do a sphere projection, it won't work if there's a middle vertice there. So yeah, we go ahead, delete them. And now if you press B in selector, you got this selection tool, which is kind of like when you're on the desktop, you can just like sort of select things, and that's exactly what you want. But you go actually press B this time, and then you can select things. So you want to select this top circle of vertices and the bottom one. And once you got that, if you press E, which will extrude the vertices, but if you right click, it will just put them in place. So E, right click, and then they should stay in place, and you'll have the same thing that I see right here. Now what you want to do is you want to press S to scale it, but the thing is it's going inside the model, and we don't want that. So if you press S, X, and then hold Shift and press Z, it won't do that. It will just stay on the same thing. So yeah, I'm just going to do that until it's really small. So S, X, Shift, Z, and so you scale it in by just moving your mouse in towards the center of the origin point. Okay, so we want to return to the spherical shape that it had at the top. So if we just scale it along the top by pressing S and then hitting Z, then just move it up to that grid line that you see there. Okay, perfect. Now that we got that, if you hold Shift, press A, and then hold Shift and right click a line like that. Oh no, Shift Alt, that's the one. You get like this middle line, or partly middle, and that's what we want. We want to just, now that we've got that selected, we want to press Control E, mark seam. So what this will do is it's sort of like a it's hard to explain. It's so that when you UV unwrap the model, it will put a seam at where it doesn't connect things, or it still connects it, but it's like sort of like when you're stitching, when you connect things together, you make a seam along it, and it's practically, you know, creating the line. I am doing a horrible job of explaining this, but you don't really need to know what that does. So yeah, now that we've got that, if you double tap A so that you have everything selected, we want to go up to the top here where you see about 3 lines, and if you click on that and drag out to the left, you'll get 2 views, the exact same view of course, but you know, one does its own, it's not mirrored. And we want to press this button down here and go UV image editor. Again, now if we press U, sphere projection, you get this. It's horrible, ugly, and that's not what you want, but it's okay, because over here under sphere projection we can edit a few things. So with the direction, we want to make that aligned to object, and that way it will just, you know, make it so that the whole thing is aligned to how the image is there. You also want to click scale to bounds. Now you've done that, you're fine, you're ready to go. Okay, so if we tab out of edit mode, what we want to do is go over to the image or the material editor here, which is like a circle with, you know, 4 different sections. So you just click on that and then go new. So now we have a white texture on this model. We need to make that so that it looks like Earth. We need to have an image of Earth, and we want that to be on this UV sphere. So if I go into my documents, Blender, Earth, images, I've got my Earth picture here. So this is a picture from NASA, and it is extremely high resolution, so I recommend that you have a good computer when you're using these photos. But if you do not, what you can do is you can edit, and then your resize pixel, so it opens up in Paint, but that doesn't really matter. But you want to just sort of like half that or whatever, I'm not going to do that because I have a good enough computer and I want to get the best image looking possible, because I aim for a background like image like you see here. So in order to do this, we need to have nodes, and what nodes are like tiny little boxes that tell things how to do things practically. So if you go out of UV image editor into node editor, you see these two things here, diffuse BSDF and material output, and you got those are linked together. Now the diffuse is the color, so if I change the color of that, it will change the color over here. You'll notice that's actually not changing in the viewport. However, see, this still stays white. Well, that's because in here it says viewport color, and I would actually have to make it the exact same color in order for it to view like that, such as like that. Obviously we don't want it blue, so just no need to do that. It's just a little showing you what to do, well, how things work partly. So now you want to press Shift A, import texture coordinate. So the reason we're using a texture coordinate is because we want to tell it to use a UV map. And the UV map was the thing that we made earlier with this. This is a mapping onto a square, and that's a UV map. It's telling where textures should be on this certain object. So we want to tell it to use UV, so we'll connect that up to a image texture. So if you press Shift A again, you go grab an image texture, UV into the vector. So you just drag that into the vector, color into color, and then you want to press open. Find where you have your image for Earth, and mine's called Earth Day, and it's in my Blender Earth images. So go ahead and select that. So now we want to see what this looks like. Yes, well, if you press 7 to go top view, press Shift A, camera, RX90, and then drag out so that you get a view of the Earth like that. Also, you don't have to drag the camera everywhere. One thing that you can do is, if you're on this scene, press N, not background images, lock camera to view, and like you can now change it by scrolling. But if I didn't have that, however, it would actually zoom in. So I'm just gonna have that selected. So I reckon that's good enough view. Now if I want to press Shift A, lamp, sun, RX70, because the sun is on a bit of a, no, it's not really, but we want the idea that the sun is on an angle because it looks better, because as you can see here, I'm getting where it's raised up a little bit. So we're just gonna move that around. You can press G to move freely around the scene like I am right now, and we're gonna rotate by pressing R, and we're just gonna make it about like that. We're gonna put it over to the side of the Earth like that. Perfect. So now if we press F12, it'll start rendering, and we can see what it looks like now. And well, it's mapped the Earth perfectly, but obviously the image isn't done yet. It's going to be like a 30-minute tutorial, maybe longer. I was expecting it to, I've been talking a bit too much. So one thing that we want to do is we want to rotate this, because we don't want to focus on Australia. Australia's horrible. Not really. It's pretty nice here. We're going to rotate to about the Africa continent, so that will be wherever. I'm just rotating this wherever, and then if I press F12, yep, there's the Africa continent, so I'm just going to rotate a little bit more. Yeah, about that. Bit too much. Okay, yep, like that. Perfect. So we got that. It all looks great, partly. Not looking great yet. We're still moving on to parts. So one thing that you'll notice is when I render this is that I get a gray background, and we all know that space isn't gray. It's not even black either, which I'm gonna make it black though, because it's a bit like a darkish blue mixed with black and everything. It's like, yeah. But yeah, and you see I have stars and everything, but I'll show you how to do that later. But we just want to make, if we go over to the world and then click on color and make it black, not fully black though, make it like 0.01 for everything. And perfect. So as you can see, it's not completely black, because if you have a look here, you can see a very light distinction between the actual shadow of the Earth and space, or well, soon to be space. Okay, now the thing is, when I look at this image, it's not really that bright, and we all know the sun is very bright, considering how we can't even look at it through our own atmosphere. And yeah, so we need to make this a lot brighter. So if we right click on the sun, we can select it, and then move over to this tab, the sun tab. It looks like a sun, obviously. And we're going to make the size about 1.5, 0.15. And we're going to go down here to strength and make that 1.5 as well. Now, although the sun isn't, it is yellow, but not fully yellow, and it looks white, we're just going to make it very tiny bit yellow. So if we go on blue, the RGB, B stands for blue, if we just move that down like a very little bit to about 0.85, actually I'm just going to round that off, make it 0.85, and we'll just get that really light yellow tinge to it, and that looks a lot better. So now we have a much brighter scene, and obviously it's not as bright as say this, but through compositing or post-processing, we'll make it look a lot better. So now what we want to do is, we've got the like Earth part of it, we've got the texture of Earth set up, but the one thing about Earth is, if you look at it, and when the sun, well, not if you look at it, if you look at anything, if like sun isn't shining, if something's blocking the sun from shining something, you see shadows. So i.e. mountains would be blocking things. But if we look at the image, there'll probably be mountains somewhere here. We aren't even seeing any shadows on the Earth from mountain ranges or anything, and that's because we're just using a texture. We're using a texture and not actually any bump mapping. And bump mapping is a faking of, say, mountains and stuff, or whatever this image can do. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Shift A and add another image texture. UV to vector again. But instead of color to color, we're going to go color to normal. We want to select non-color data and go open, Blender, Earth. Well, not for you, wherever your bump texture is. So mine's called Earth Bump, but I'm actually going to use Earth Bump NRM. So one thing that I want to show you is, if I go here, this should be the image that you have. The links will be in the description, so make sure you go get them. So this is the Earth Bump that we have. It's using yellow, what am I thinking? White to highlight very bumpy regions, and black to indicate the very soft, low down areas. And what we want to do is, because that won't work in Cycles Render, it doesn't detect how to make bump maps from, well, height maps. So what you want to do is go ahead and download Crazy Bump. There's the link in the description, so go ahead and go get that. So I'm going to open it up here. By the way, you will only get a free trial, which is for about 30 days. You could spend $50 on it, but I mean, yeah, I suppose you can't really do anything about that. So I'm going to go open height map from file and Earth Bump. So this is going to take a long while. So if you're like I said before with the other Earth image, if it's really higher resolution like this one is, just half it again and you should experience a less time loading and lagging. So here we have what is converted from that bump map into a normal map. Normal maps are what Cycles Render can actually read. So the thing is, it looks really too heavy. So if I go show 3D preview, just make this a lot larger, you can see it's a bit too bumpy because that looks like it's massive when it clearly wouldn't be. And same with that area there. So what we want to do is, instead of intensity 50, we want to drag that down to about intensity 16. Perfect. So we'll go save normals to file, and then you get Earth Bump NRM, which I already have. I made two versions, one with -16 because I didn't quite understand how it was working at that time. But you just want to make it about Earth Bump with the intensity of 16. So now I've got that, I'm going to go Open, Blender, Earth, Images, Earth Bump NRM. Perfect. So now if we render our image, it doesn't look a lot better, but it is better, if that makes sense. So like here we can see what seems to be a mountain area and everything. So if I actually just remove this F12, you can see it's a lot lighter and just sort of looks flat. But after I enable the bump map, it works a lot better. It also makes the earth a lot darker, so that's a problem, but it's nothing that you have to worry about now. No need to fix it. We'll just make this about 2 actually. Yeah, we'll fix it by just strengthening the sun, and see the image now. By the way, you can exit this by pressing escape. Would have been helpful mentioning. So yeah, if I go back into the node editor and select the earth by right clicking it, now the one thing that earth is missing, if I F12, if I render it again, is any shininess. Obviously water reflects a lot of well, it just reflects a lot, and that should be something that's showing, but it isn't. That's because we don't have any glossy material attached to our object. Sorry about that. I had to go take a drink because my throat is hurting me. Anyways, what were we doing again? Right, okay, so the thing is, because we haven't assigned a glossy texture to the earth yet, but the thing is, if I did assign a glossy texture to the earth, we would see the ground areas also reflecting, the sunlight and everything, and that's not what we want, because that's not how it works. I know we're aiming for a not really realistic but somewhat realistic photo, but like I said, we're still aiming for a somewhat realistic photo. So what you want to do is, if you press Shift A, another image texture, and you UV yet again, but we're going to go non-color data. We're going to go Shift A, shader, glossy, BSDF, color to color, make it Beckman, and then we want to go Shift A again, move that out of the way, just drag it somewhere, Shift A, mix shader, and just sort of combine those two together. I think that's what we want to do. Isn't that what? It's probably somewhat stupid of me to ask. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we want to do. I want to select the Earth spec mask. Yeah, that's that thing. It shows where to reflect and where not to, using white and black. No, wait. Maybe if I move this up top. And then factor, alpha to factor. Hold on. Maybe if I turn color back on. Hold on 1 second. Okay, I think I understand how this works now. So if we move that back down, keep the glossy texture, unhook this from that, just put that one in that one. I think that's how we do it. Pretty sure. Nope. Nope. So I'm just gonna quickly name this Earth. I just like to keep things in line, so I know that's Earth, and if I see another sphere, I'll know it's an atmosphere when we're doing that later. Atmosphere. Yeah. Hold on. I have to open up my other file from before. Non-color data, so non-color data. That goes into factor, that goes into that there. Wait, which one? Diffuse, gloss. Yep, pretty sure that's how it works. Whoops, open up Steam. There's gotta be something I'm missing. Preview. Don't suppose. Isn't this practically the exact same setup now? Non-color data, color, flat. What is this? What's going on? I don't understand. Oh, by the way, quick thing. Smooth. Make smooth shading. So after you have the selected, make it smooth. Because when it's flat, you'll see that it doesn't look right. It looks polygonally boxy and stuff. So just smooth. Yeah. Wait, is it because the sun isn't? I am using a Beckman. And that's going into the factor. Wait, maybe it's color. Maybe that's it. Color factor. Yep. See, so that's how we do it. We get a somewhat shininess. Yeah. Got it. So now what we want to do is we want to make the clouds. Yay, clouds. So if you just sort of partly close this off, just make it so that's still open. Yeah. So once we have the Earth selected, well, we normally would have the Earth selected, so I don't know why you wouldn't have it not selected. But yeah. Press Shift D, and then scale it up very tiny little bit. So if you press Z, you can go into a wireframe mode, and this will just help you get a better view of things. I just want to make it a tiny little bit bigger than the Earth there, which is the black lines. The yellow ones are the ones that I'm editing. Now we want to name this clouds so that we don't get mixed up later on. Clouds. Also, make your texture named Earth, and then clouds named I want to remove that texture by pressing the X there. And now I am at clouds. Perfect. Now we're practically going to be doing the same thing except for the clouds. So we're going to go input texture coordinate, texture, image texture, UV, vector. I'm lagging a bit. UV, vector, color, color, open, blender, earth, images, clouds. And yeah. Okay, so the links. No, actually, you probably won't have to do any of this because I figured I can just do my links via Mediafire. Mediafire, is it? Yeah, Mediafire. I'll just put all the images that I have here into Mediafire. That will work a lot better because I was gonna say, because when you originally get the clouds file, you can very briefly see it there, and that's pointless for trying to see it there. But when you get the clouds image, if you look here, it's got the black background, and that sort of indicates that it doesn't have any transparency, but you want transparency, so you will have had to have gone into GIMP, removed all the black. I'm not racist, I swear. You want to remove all the black from it by like right clicking layer alpha to color or something like that, and then yeah, you could remove it, but you won't have to do that, so it's all good. But as you can see here, for some reason it doesn't have the transparency. Well, why is that? It's because Cycles doesn't automatically render transparency. It doesn't detect if an image has transparency in it. So what you have to do is you have to go Shift A, Shader, Transparent, BSDF, and then move this out, Shader, Mix Shader. Put that at the bottom. Put that there. Put that one there. Move this down a little bit, and put color to alpha to factor. Yep, perfect. And yeah, that's it for the clouds. And now if we press F12, we should be able to see the clouds are now there. See, it looks nice. Not really though, because the clouds are like really strong, and as you can see, like some bits here, it's just like everywhere. It's sort of like nearly covering the entire Earth. About 40% of it is just clouds, and as you can see here, it looks a lot better, and they're not as strong. So we can do that by, hold on, I gotta check this out. Clouds, making roughness 0.2. We want to make the roughness 0.2, and we'll get a less strong, but after the post-processing effects, it will look a lot better. But it looks a lot less strong now, and that's a good thing. So if we press escape, get out of that, and we're done with the clouds. So, well, what's left? Well, there's one thing that's left, and that's called the atmosphere. So if you look to Google's and type in Earth, whatever, you can see that it has like a very brief outline of blue. It's got the blue there covering it, and well, that's the atmosphere, just in case you didn't know that. I'm kidding, almost everyone knows that. And we want to recreate that, but in Cycles, for me, if you don't know what you're doing, it does take an extremely long time. It took me 2 hours to figure it out. Even then, I still knew what I was doing, but I just couldn't figure it out. But fear not, for I have it all figured out now. So if you press Shift D, do the same thing and make it a little bit bigger than the clouds. I'm gonna name this atmosphere. And we want to remove the texture yet again. We want to grab a new texture, call it atmosphere. A lot of the textures are the same name as the object, and that is because, well, the atmosphere technically is a texture, clouds technically is a texture, Earth. So yeah, there's no point naming atmosphere bluey sky thing that you see around the Earth, because that's not normal, and that's too much. Okay, now here is a bit of a confusing bit, so much so that I have to actually go back to my original project. Yep, that stuff. That's the stuff. It actually doesn't look that complicated when you see it after all the stuff that we did before for the Earth, but it took a long time to figure out, and I was using stuff that I'd never even seen before. I got part of the help from online. So you got the texture coordinate, subtract gradient. Okay. Do you want to go same thing to texture coordinate, but this time you want to go and add a, what was it? It was a input. I can't figure out what the subtract was. It was, that's right. It was an add. It's gonna take a little while. I'll just pause it. Okay, it's vector math. Took me a little while. And you want, instead of add, subtract, and you want UV into that vector. And now we want to have, what was it again? A gradient, texture, color ramp, diffuse, transparent, mix. Okay, see if I can remember that. Gradient texture is just a texture. Yeah, gradient texture. The vector to vector yet again. You want to make it spherical. It was an odd. It was a color ramp, and then color to, no, factor to factor. Pretty sure. Yeah, factor to factor. Now we want to make a blue color out of this black one here. So if we lighten that up and go blue, nice blue. If we click on the white one, make that invisible completely by going A and making it all the way down. That makes it alpha. Actually, you want to make this black. Then, yeah. And about that. Also, with this blue one, you want to make the alpha about 0.7. And then it was, what was it? It was a transparent mixed with a diffuse color, and mix shader, and factor into that, and then that into that. So mix shader, diffuse, BSDF, and that's about it. We'll just drag this out a little bit. Now if we press F12 to render our Earth, we get this nice little image. And you can see the light blue surrounding the Earth. It looks nice. Looks very nice. That sun doesn't seem to be working correctly. How much did I put it before? It was 3. That's why it's not so bright. Whoops. So it was double what I had before. And it was 1.2. Ah, well. 1.5. Be fine. Yep, and we get a much brighter image. And we're starting to get close to what you see, this background here. In fact, it almost looks exactly the same if it weren't for the post-processing effects in space. So look, we're nearly done. About, what, 40 minutes in, and we're nearly done. Yay, we're getting there. So now the last thing that we want to do is the post-processing. Pretty sure. Oh, so you're probably wondering why with Earth, because if you look at Earth at night, everyone's got that lights on and everything. So if we go like Earth night, you'll see that there's this shining through. And I was originally trying to do that. I was figuring it out in my last one, and I realized I have no idea how to do this. It took me long. Well, it did take me longer than the Earth. I just sort of gave up easier with the this one than the atmosphere. And I just sort of realized that if I render it, you can barely even see any Earth where the shadow is. Like you can barely see any land, so you wouldn't even be able to see these night lights. And well, it just kind of made me think, well, why would I go into such trouble trying to find how to make this night area? So I just sort of gave up on that, and it's not really something that's necessary. But if you want complete realism and you want an Earth that rotates and everything, or you want a camera to rotate around the Earth and like see the night lights, you can try and figure that out. I still don't quite know how to do it because I've only ever done this in Blender Render, and I only figured out how to do it in Cycles Render today. That was a lot. Anyways, onto the post-processing effects. So no, we won't do the post-processing effects just yet. What we're going to do is we're going to press Shift A. Also, by this way, you probably see this circle. It looks like a lifesaver because it's got the red, white, that circle, and it's like a crosshair kind of thing because it's got the black lines in between it. That is your pardon me. That is your origin point, and it's going to tell you where you want the objects to be when you spawn in an object. So what if it's like somewhere out here, like not in the middle of the screen? If you press Shift C, it will immediately move it to the middle of the screen. And it'll also move your camera to, well, not your camera, your view to the very middle of the scene as well, where like between all these objects. So technically the middle of the screen is right here because it's in between all these three. That was just a bit of FYI. But yeah, so while that's in the middle, we want to press Shift A, Mesh, Plane, rotate it 90 degrees by pressing RX and then 90. We're going to drag it out to about there. Oh, go into the camera view, scale it up, SZ, SX, to about the same size as camera. And you can just check that out fully by not being in the wireframe mode. And well, you can see that fills up that. What we want to do, press Tab, drag this out. By the way, press N and T and you can remove those. Sometimes it gets a little bit annoying. Also, you're probably wondering why I don't have such things as screencast keys, and I'm pretty sure they removed it from Blender in total. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't even have to tell you about half the shortcuts all the time. Yeah, they completely removed screencast keys, which was actually a really helpful tool for tutorials, but obviously not for actually modeling and everything, so they sort of just gave up on that tool. Now we're going to go into UV image editor, close that, and while we're in edit mode, press U, project from, go into the side view by pressing 1, and then U, project from view, bounds. Done. We want to add a new material and go into the node editor, input, texture coordinate, texture, image texture, UV to vector, open, blender, earth, images, and space, color to color. And then what we want to do is we want to grab a emission shader, so emission, and then go mix shader, and we just want it to use the same color as that. Oh, no, that's right, into that color. Yep, perfect. And now if we press F12, we'll get that nice background of space that you see, and we don't have to work too hard to make a nice realistic stars and everything. That takes a little bit longer in Cycles than it does in Blender Render. In fact, in Blender Render, there actually used to be a specific tool just for making stars, and they removed that as well. It's like, wow, they removed a lot of useful tools. Well, a lot of useful tools for making an Earth anyways. So now that we've got that, we can go into composition. So if you press that little button up the top where my mouse was, and then go into compositing, actually not composition, whatever. If we drag the things down and we see an arrow, you remember this when we dragged out with the 3 lines? If we drag that back the other way and we see the arrow, it will remove it. Okay. Use nodes, auto render, backdrop. We want that. Go ahead and go output, viewer, image into that image. And now we can see the image that we rendered before. That's a good thing because we want to sort of just, I don't know, see it as we're editing it instead of like editing it, rendering, and then realizing we did something wrong, going back, editing again, then rendering it, and so on. So now that we have that there, perfect. We can see it properly, and we can edit it as we look at it. Okay, because I'm an idiot, I screwed up this bit, so I screwed up the previous bit. You wouldn't have seen it because I would have deleted it. Yeah, so I'm gonna show you how to do the compositing. So, we're in the compositing, we'd have the image into the image, and that should be your basic scene. You should see that right there. But one quick thing, you wanna go default, and what do you wanna do? What do you wanna do? It'll make it brighter. F2. See, I'm already screwing up in the start of it. No, I remember. Okay, select the atmosphere, and just make it a tiny bit bigger. About that. And also, if I go to preview of the atmosphere, and that should produce a better image. Much better. Yep. Okay, now we're gonna go into compositing, and we've got all that. So, straight off the bat, you wanna do RGB curve. That image to that image, image. And we wanna make this dark. Very dark. We don't want the stars shining through much. About that. About that. Yeah, about that. Perfect. The stars are showing through, but that don't matter. It's all good. Yeah. We want to add a blur node. So go ahead and add a blur node. Image to image and image. Do I really need to explain this? Just is dragging things to a certain position. By the way, you want to have this viewer. You want to add a viewer. You need the viewer. Actually, I would have. Don't worry. Don't. You do need a viewer, but I've already told you that. Fast Gaussian. Set the blur node. Fast Gaussian. Relative Y to. Oh, I meant to press tab. Tool. It's really blurry. That's what we want though. We want to add a mix node there. Instead, that one to the bottom. Change it to add and make the factor. We'll keep the factor at 1. So now we want to add another blur node. Now you're thinking we're going to be doing the exact same thing, so why don't you just copy over that one? Well, I tried that before and it didn't work. Nice, so yeah. We're doing the exact same thing that we did there, practically. Image to image, and now we want to add an alpha over node. Got that there. Drag that to that image, that one to that image, and that to that. Done. Make a 1.5. I screwed up. Screwed up somewhere. Didn't I? Yeah, I screwed up. How did I screw up? What did I screw up? How did I screw up? Screwed up somewhere. I really shouldn't be doing this. Maybe if I keep that at 1. Or 0.5. really shouldn't be doing this. But I don't actually. And then make a 1.5. Yeah. But she didn't think of that one. Oh, that's a bit too dark. There you go. Oh, okay. I went a bit too far. You make this go just a bit too far. I highly recommend not doing that. Okay, so once you've got the same setup as me, I had to just sort of move that around. And that 1.5 add, and perfect. Done. We are literally done. So now if we go default, back into the default view instead of compositing, click on the camera. One thing that I highly recommend, if you have a NVIDIA graphics card that is over GTX 660 and you have a CPU that is under an i7 3770K, go over into the user preferences and system compute device and make it cuter. Mine's on a 680. So yeah, my 680 with my i5 3470. My 680 obviously beats that, so I render using my GPU because it makes it a lot faster. So you want to make that GPU compute because if you really want to, you can render at 4K if that is necessary. Under resolution here, you can go 3840 by 2160, which is what I did, and it took me 10 minutes. Yeah, not really fun. So I'm just going to make this a 1080p image, so 1920 by 1080p. Make that 100% because at 50% it is half of that resolution, and that's not what you want because it won't look as good because it will be pixely. Yeah. So now we're going to scroll down, go over to sampling, and make samples render to 250. In render 250, and performance, make that 256, tab 256. And now you're done, you're ready to render. So if you go ahead and render that, this is gonna take a little while, so I'm gonna pause. Okay, my image has finally finished rendering, and as you can see, it looks nice. Somewhat. No, I reckon it looks pretty nice myself. It's up to you, it's up to interpretation whether you reckon it looks nice, but yeah, I like it, and that is how you make a Earth in Cycles Render. So if you want to make this a background or just want to have it as an image to show off to friends or whatever, you can press F3 and it'll save an image. So if I go to, I don't know, Blender, I've got already my rendered backgrounds there. If you want to render at 4K, by the way, it's going to be about 10 megabytes just for one image. So if you have like 10 of them, there's 100 megabytes gone. Ow. Sorry, my throat kind of hurts. I'm just going to save this. I'm going to tutorial, yeah. And yeah, that's how you save an image. And if I go into my documents, Blender, voila, there it is, my 1080p image of the Earth. So I hope you learned some stuff here today. I hope you like it, and if you want me to see me do some more tutorials and more professional tutorials, I wish this was more professional, go ahead and give this a thumbs up. That'll let me know whether you want to see some more. Also subscribe to my channel if you do want to see some more, and you can also check out some of my speed models or my other tutorials, my 2 other tutorials, but I plan to do some more tutorials this year. Anyway guys, my name has been Exohei, and I'll see you guys next time.